Boeing CEO Dave Calhoun will face a Senate subcommittee to discuss safety concerns, quality control issues at the manufacturer. Joining us now, Senator Richard Blumenthal. He chairs the Homeland Security Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations. Senator, it's good to see you this morning. Thanks for joining us. And this has been like a Tolstoy novel, I think, over the last 5 or 6 years. And I'm just wondering, after we had those two fatal crashes, the company was put on probation. And they insist that the things that they were supposed to do, that they've lived up to their obligations. If they didn't, there's some chance it could be prosecuted by the Justice Department. Where do you come down on things? Did they live up to the conditions of the probation?
Thanks for having me. The answer is very simply no. They have failed to comply with the conditions of that deferred prosecution. Remember, they paid about $243 million in fines and a total of $2.5 billion to the combination of customers and loved ones of people who were killed in those two crashes. But the deferred prosecution depended on their complying with integrity and ethics and proper reporting. And the whistleblowers who've come to us, we have about 12 of them so far, have told us about the use of non-conforming parts, defective or damaged parts in airplanes, continued lying to the FAA, the kind of concealment and pressure against the whistleblowers, in fact, telling them to shut up instead of the program Speak Up. So there is mounting evidence that not only should deferred prosecution be pursued, but the company should come clean with the American people, with its customers, with its employees, and with the American public.
Is there anyone do you or are there other members of the Senate or in Washington that think a felony conviction, if that were to happen, would that is that a bridge too far to one of our great manufacturers? Would that be self-defeating for what we're trying to accomplish?
Great question. You know, the goal of this hearing is really to help Boeing succeed and restore trust and regain credibility as one of the great manufacturers, one of the two aerospace manufacturers of airplanes in the world. Airbus is the other. We need Boeing, and we need it to be putting safety and quality ahead of profits or stock price. So the idea of a felony prosecution may be a deterrent, but in the end, we need to help Boeing succeed. And the goal is not to prosecute and penalize. It is literally to help Boeing change its priorities so that, in fact, profit is secondary to quality and safety, which at the end of the day is going to be good for its stock price and for its financial well-being.
That's the point that I was to keep blaming it on the profit incentive is it's almost a chicken and egg thing, because obviously, they're saying, well, not worry about the next earnings report. Do you know how many bad earnings reports this company has had because it didn't focus on the P's and Q's of running a safe manufacturing process? I mean, if they had thought about what is going to set us up long term for profitability and being a great American manufacturer, none of this would have happened. All these safety issues would have taken care of themselves. The profit incentive can be a reason to not let this kind of stuff happen.
Well put. In fact, long-term interests here would have been much better served if the company had focused on quality and safety and incentivizing employees and their unions to come forward, as they have very courageously, rather than the next earnings report. And here's the key. They focused on the speed of production. Right. So, for example, they wanted to produce more airplanes. But as you well know, if the airplanes have risks and the risks cause panels to blow out, or worse yet, crashes, it's not so much a matter of prosecution that they should fear. It's the loss of life and the risk to passengers that will deter them from flying on their airplanes and customers like our great airlines buying them. So this company can succeed. It can restore its credibility and trust, its reputation for quality, if it focuses on the long-term interest. And to do so, let me just be blunt, it has to do more than just musical management, musical chairs, which is what it's recently proposed, right, with changes in the leadership.
And the managers have not been held accountable. I don't even think their pay was really affected very much. And in reading exactly what happened, I mean, Senator, they actually tried to pin it all on this one guy, a pilot who supposedly recommended cutting some corners for the new software from a couple of years ago that resulted in those 2 crashes, and he was even acquitted. But seriously, the company found one person to try to offload all the responsibility for all these shortcomings on one guy. It didn't go any higher than this poor guy. There's no management types that should be held accountable for this at this point.
Accountability is key. You're absolutely right. After those 2 crashes, they blamed it on the pilot. By the way, the pilot had been given awards for efficiency because he had saved money, which was the goal in shortchanging safety. And no one in top management was held accountable. And that's one of the reasons why the deferred prosecution now has to impose accountability. And if there is a prosecution, it has to name names and present the facts, because changing practices depends on truth-telling and facing the truth. And I'll just make one last point on accountability. What Boeing has done is push the blame down to the factory floor. They have tried to retaliate against the whistleblowers. We have about a dozen who have come forward and tried to tell the truth and improve practices, blame them for anything going wrong rather than trying to improve the practices. And that really is a recipe for disaster, as we well know, long-term in corporate management.